The Chicago Bears left Washington empty-handed by a Halloween miracle. We'll give you the details. In other NFL news, the Cowboys get dominated by the 49ers, and there was some other shenanigans that happened yesterday, which I was not very proud of. We'll dig into that. In basketball, the Bulls proved to be who they thought they were, and some folks are still upset. We'll explain. The World Series now moves to Gotham City, where the Dodgers have a commanded 2-0 series lead. That in the weekend in college basketball and college football, that I should say, in time permitting, old school TV Monday. That and a whole lot more as the Monday edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports So Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am sitting around. You know that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, and Lakina McGee on the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are located on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're not unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, like Tyrese Stevenson, I'll give Lakina full powers to give you full stability if you're pooped.
Not like he did yesterday, but bye-bye.
But before we begin, we must remind you to get Sports Zone Chicago live and in living color once the issues are fixed, courtesy of Roku TV. So as we always say, if you already have a Roku television, just tap on the Sports World and download that Roku TV app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, just go to the Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So once the issues are fixed, so no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago will be available on Roku TV very soon. And oh boy, this is what happens when you do it live. And we need Roku TV to be fixed, Lakina. They're messing up my intro.
Okay.
They're messing up my intro.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, we'll provide you with all of it here on Second City Sports. Let's just get right to it. Of course, all the weirdness that happened in week 9 of college football, and also the Bulls split their games over the weekend. I'm not too upset about the latter matchup, but I digress. And the rest of the week in the NBA, and of course, can the Yankees head into the Dodgers 2-0 lead? We'll find out tonight. But first, I wish we had the highlights on there, but whatever. But let's get right to it, Sid. Let's recap that Bears Commanders game. I'm chuckling here because I can only laugh because that's all you can really say about this Bears squad at this point. Coming off a bye, you thought that maybe they would look good and maybe they would be able to kind of stay up, keep up with the Commanders. And well, they had a slow start. Good.
You call that slow? I'll call it hot garbage.
I know. Well, I was trying to be nice, Sid. I was trying to be nice, but I guess I'll let it rip too. But yeah, they looked they looked like a team that you would think that coming off a bye, you would think, maybe they could see. But I warned everybody. I said it. I said when we did our picks, our us and our girl Christine Macker KXRB. There's a reason why I picked the Commanders because I felt that they were a slightly better team. They were shorthanded. Yeah, I can say they were shorthanded because Kyler Gordon was out, and a couple of guys were out. But even still, I mean, it kind of felt like this Bears squad just they're not ready for prime time yet. They've made some inroads here and there, but they're not ready to take that next step yet. They got a long way to go. So for me, when that Hail Mary happened, of course, the 52-yard pass from Jane Daniels to Noah Brown. That whole thing in of itself, okay, look, I'll give the Bears a little bit of credit for coming back. I'll give the defense a little bit of credit for keeping them to field goals. But let's remember, to the Commanders, it was more self-inflicted by their part due to penalties and drop passes and stuff like that. This game should have been a blowout. I said what I said. And I like you, we talked before we started recording, I avoided all the local media and such because it just didn't really, because I know how some of these folks were going to react for the most part. Not all, but some how they were going to react. So, I don't know what folks were expecting. 18 to 15. I mean, this is not okay. We'll get to all that about this is worse. This is the double doink, whatever. But said, the floor is yours, my friend.
What is the role of any head coach of any sport? Put your players in the best position to make plays and to execute and to hopefully come out with a victory. Correct?
Yep.
What I saw in that fourth quarter, Lakina, Bears head coach Matt Eberflus, he turned into 2018 Matt Nagy on the goal line where that fumble occurred. Okay, Caleb did not do a great job handing the ball up to that offensive lineman. I believe his name is Doug Kramer, correct?
Yep, Doug Kramer, yep.
What's the role of the quarterback when you hand the ball to a running back? Put it in his chest, correct? That didn't happen, and that's what caused the fumble. But the Bears get out of it. They stop the Commanders on the next series. And then it baffles me because Eberflus is a defensive head coach, but when you put people that never had experience as a head coach before, things like this happens, okay? In that first half, like I said, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was hot garbage. And I didn't even have to watch all of it live. But in that second half, this coaching staff did do something right. They gave the ball to DeAndre Swift, and look what happens. The first touchdown in the game for the Bears, 56 yards down the far sideline. I said, okay, getting back to what they had been doing for the last 3 weeks, and I told you offensively the tide was turning. So the same thing occurred again yesterday offensively, right? I said, okay. And then that stupid thing happened with the handoff, and then they come back with the 2-point conversion to take the 3-point lead. I said, with the shovel pass to Cole Kmet. I said, okay, Shane Waldron, Matt Eberflus, they got the backup play correct. Gotcha. But before the final play of the game, which we'll break down, Tyreek Stevenson, I love you, my man. I still expect great things from you this year as a second-year player, but you talking trash to Terry McLaurin, and you saw what Terry McLaurin said about him. If you saw the instant replay on the super slow-mo, you read his lips correctly. I'm talking about Terry McLaurin. As I said throughout the season, Lakina, and I said this before the season started, remember, this is one of my concerns before the game this week, with the Bears going in there cocky, and it's the difference between being confident and being cocky. Well, one of your young players decided to be cocky, and it came back to backfire on him. Now, after that final play of the game, shout out to Noah Brown for being in the right place at the right time. At times, looking as I said, social media can be a cesspool, and then social media can be used for good when it's used correctly. Shout out to those people that had the perfect shot of off their phones in the end zone. Tyreek Stevenson was yapping with the fans while the play was happening. Dude, when the ball is snapped, your job is not supposed to yap with the fans. Your job is to make the play and cover the field. You do that, and how I run into the ball tipped off his fingertips and into Noah Brown's hands, okay? What are you supposed to do, Lakina, in that situation? As Tom Jackson of ESPN said back in the day, knock it down!
Knock it down!
Did that happen? No. And I know that Kevin Byard was a veteran safety that was brought here in the offseason. Lakina, who covered Noah Brown on that play? No one. Kevin Byard or someone should have been back there that said someone should have been back there. Even Kevin Byard. Noah Brown is open in the end zone. You go cover him because he'll stand all alone. And you can't tell me that no one from the Bears secondary didn't notice him roaming around in there. Yeah, that is it's inexcusable. Like you said, it was a great comeback win for the Bears. Oh, great! Should have been a great comeback win for the Bears yesterday, even though they did stink it up in that first half. What happened yesterday, it was supposed to happen to the Bears. Now I'll steal this line from Teddy Bruschi, now ESPN NFL analyst, a former New England Patriot. How the Bears bounce back is how they turn it around mentally. How this Bears team will bounce back is how they turn around mentally. Because if they don't, this season could go down and take in a hurry, and there will be no one else's fault but their own.
You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago, the Kingdom McGee, Cindy Brown with you. And for me, I think this whole thing was they got what they deserve. They did, because if you heard Jalen Johnson's comments on Friday, well, we don't care who is going to be the starter, because there was still like a lot of back and forth about who was going to start for Washington, and they're like, oh, we don't care, blah blah blah. Okay, really? All right. And Tyree Stevenson was like yapping the whole game. And shout out to Joe Abdo, who's a season ticket holder, who was in the press box, one of the skybox seats with some of his friends. He was one of the first. He was the first one. I think there were a few others, Commanders ticket holders that were there too, that showed Stevenson. I think Get Up did a good job. There was like 4 seconds that he kind of like stayed and was saying like waving, yapping and waving bye bye to the Commanders fans, and like, well, really? But then also the play itself. I mean, they only rushed like 3 or 4. And I don't know who was supposed to have been like back there covering Brown, but look, situational awareness, we say it all the time. He was aware to stay right there, stay with the ball, and they knocked the ball up, and the Brown was there like 5 yards away and was able to get the touchdown. They deserve to lose this game. They did. And look, I said what I said. And look, they play Arizona coming up this Sunday, and that's not a gimme. That is not a gimme. So for people that were like, we're in the high, they're going to be 5-2, and then they're going to be Arizona. Well, look, the Arizona game is not a gimme. I can tell you that right now. If you saw what Arizona did yesterday, the last couple of weeks. So for me, I think this loss perfectly is a perfect example of the Bears, what the Bears are. It is. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And I mean, look, Caleb Williams, 111 yards, 131 yards, I should say, passing yards. Swift had 120 rushing yards and a TD. On the flip side for Jaden Daniels, 326 yards and that winning TD pass to Noah Brown. People were it was so funny because the way he was, I'm talking about Daniels after the game, he was like everyone was saying, and you saw the interview he did with Tracy Wilson afterwards because it was on CBS. He was like very chill and very calm. Oh, how chill and calm he is. I think that throw, he kind of like bruised his ribs a little bit after that pass.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Look, I don't know anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got a cortisone shot after that because he didn't want to get too excited because he didn't want to re-aggravated that rib injury because it was right by the rib cage where he hurt himself. So I mean, look, as far as like this be worse than the Parkey double doink, no, because this one feels worse because it actually happened to you. And this deal, look, it's great when it happens to on the winning side. It's bad when it happens to the other side. So this does not look. Is it up there in the top 3 or 4? Yeah, but to say this is worse than the double doink, no, because this is basically a pick'em game right here. You're favoring that playoff game against the Eagles. The big difference. A couple big differences.
Yeah, here's the thing about that Cody Parkey double doink and what happened yesterday. If you remember, Cody Parkey hit that field goal from that same spot before Philadelphia called timeout. Mm-hmm. He changed his kicking elevation, and you saw what happened. So there's that. Yesterday, you had a chance to, as we said before, knock down the pass. That's what you taught. All teams practice this and practice every week. In this Bears team, they got caught with their pants down. They didn't execute, and you saw what happened. I still have another leftover thought or two because I know we run up against it. But just looking at the stats yesterday, like I said, I'll get to it when I come back. But it was just a couple things that turned my head around, and we'll get to it after the break.
All right, there's a teaser coming next. More on this game and some of the other games from the rest of the Week 8 action. A couple of interesting surprises, and Well, look, I won that Washington game, but that made up for like that. Well, one of the teams, not too far from where they are. I'll get to all that. We'll get to all that coming up next too. We'll have our leftover thoughts of the Bears Commanders game and a whole lot more of Week 8, including studs and duds. I know Sid's gonna have a couple of duds from that game and a whole lot more. The Key McGee, Steve Brown, Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. More NFL talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Trying to stay upbeat on this Monday afternoon as we welcome you back to Second City Sports. Right here, we're live in the living color on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and Kids again, IG.
We have exactly 85 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us about the Bears' loss to the Commanders yesterday on the road or any other action from yesterday in the National Football League, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. I know you got some leftover thoughts with the Bears Commanders game. Finish it up.
5.1 yards per play for the Chicago Bears offense. That's not going to get it done. Number 2, the red zone. 1 for 2. We talked about the fumble in our last segment that was inexcusable. You could have used DeAndre Swift to score that first touchdown inside the red zone, but that didn't happen. You had that fumble. That's on the coaching. And number 3, Lakina, third down, 2 of 12. You're not going to win many games in the National Football League with stats like that. And I know everybody wants to throw the blame pie. How much should the coaches get? How much should the players get? Do the players deserve some of it? Yes, but the majority of it goes to the coaching staff. We talked about in our last segment, from the bye week and the preparation to the way you played in that first half. You woke up in that second half, but what happened on that last play of the game, yes, that part goes to the players, but the majority of it goes to this coaching staff. And I said this in a text chain to our colleagues last night. I'm out on Eberflus as a head coach. Even if he does somehow survive this season, they somehow squeak in to make the playoffs, I'm still out on him. And it was indicative of what happened yesterday. And offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, I don't think he's long for this job, no matter what happens for the rest of this season.
All right, we'll plenty of time to talk about that as we go along here. So yeah, it's good to be continued, as we say. Now let's get to the rest of the action in Week 8 as the Patriots beat the Jets 25-22. Jacoby Brissett came in relief of Drake May, who got banged up, 132 yards, and Ramadre Stevens, I should say. Of course, the Bears will be facing the Patriots in a couple of weeks. 2 TDs for him as well, 48 yards. On the flip side for the Jets, Aaron Rodgers, 233 yards, 2 TDs. Just couldn't get the smaller execution. Hassan Reddick didn't really have too much of an impact. His first game after that long holdout. Brees Hall, 80 yards but no TDs. So they've lost 3 in a row. The Jets have since firing Robert Saleh. I thought he was the problem. Over there in Jersey. We must have misjudged that.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is giving what he wants. That's the problem. And number 2, their offense is it's like watching paint dry. That's also the problem. If you're a Jets fan, I hate to say this, but coming back from a 2-6 record deficit to make the playoffs this year, it's not going to happen. Now, that's the team that should be selling at the trade deadline. The trade deadline is coming up, I believe, next week. But it's not going to happen with it because you have Aaron Rodgers and the rest of the Jets front office wants to see this season being maxed out to the highest ability. But going back to yesterday's game, they had their chances. Brees Hall, I know he got 80 yards rushing, but I thought they could have gave him the ball more, despite the fact that he's on my fantasy team. But Lakina, this is just flat out garbage. And Brother Rice High School could have done a better job than this yesterday. I'm not a Jets fan, but from what I saw yesterday, you should not be surprised nor happy if you're a Jets fan. Now, on the flip side, if you're a Patriots fan, this was your Super Bowl because of what Jerron Merrill said in front of the press last week leading up to the game. Now they had their second win of the year. The Patriots are not expected to do anything this year. So what happened yesterday with them, this is their Super Bowl. And you should be very happy if you're a Patriots fan.
Well, unfortunately, for tank purposes, I guess some people are going to say that, should have, this is against the other stuff for tanking, but I digress. Shout out to our buddy Spiro Diaz, who had to call this game for CBS yesterday. It actually ended up being not a bad matchup there. Now, going over to Cincy as the Eagles, this is probably the best Eagles have looked all year, 37-17 or over Cincy. And I have to say, Jalen Hurts didn't make any big mistakes. Threw for 236 yards and a TD. But it was a story. Saquon Barkley had 108 rushing yards. On the flip side, Joe Monday, 234 yards, a TD and an interception. Chase Brown, no relation to Sid, 32 rushing yards and a TD. Monte Smith, 85 receiving yards and a TD. AJ Brown, 84 receiving yards. So, but also the defense too for Philly had a lot to say about that. Kind of stalled the Bengals in various drives. So yeah, nice win for Philadelphia.
Yeah, too bad I didn't put Jalen Hurts on my fantasy team. That's on me, but I digress. But Jalen Hurts played like an MVP candidate yesterday. 3 touchdowns in total, 2 of them rushing, courtesy of the tush push. You mentioned Philadelphia's defense finally decided to step up to the plate and sack Joe Burrow multiple times. You mentioned also to the production around Jalen Hurts finally decided to step up yesterday. The Bengals, I like their uniforms, but they got to get it together and get it together fast.
Yes, they do. They want to have any smidge of a shot at the playoffs. Now, going down to Jacksonville as the Packers, it was it was a little bit closer. We said that when we did our picks, it was going to be a lot closer. Everyone thought that it was going to be a blow because the Jaguars are coming back from London and you know a little bit banged. There's a little bit banged that the Packers are, and of course, Jordan Love got a little bit banged up early with his groin, not his knee. But look, they did just to win. He threw for 196 yards in the reception. Malik Willis came on in relief, 56 passing yards and a TD. But thanks to Josh Jacobs for 127 yards and 2 TDs on the rushing side. Trevor Lawrence, 2 TDs and 308 passing yards. Sid, I think.
Yeah, let's get credit to Packers tight end Tyler Kraft. He had another solid game for the Packers yesterday. 3 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown. You mentioned Josh Jacobs with 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the flip side for Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, 308 yards and 2 touchdown passes. Jacksonville just couldn't get the big play when they wanted. And Green Bay took advantage of that, especially after Malik Willis entered the game in the place of the injured Jordan Love. Will monitor his stats to see if he can play next week against the Detroit Lions. And that's going to be an important division game for both teams. And Green Bay muscled out another last-second win, courtesy of a Brandon McManus field goal yesterday. So the Packers get a tough win on the road, 30-27. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid here with you, Lakino. Hopefully, will join me coming up. Speaking of the Lions, let's go to the Motor City, where the Detroit Lions improved their record to 6-1 overall after destroying the Tennessee Titans at home, 52-14. Mason Rudolph for the Titans, who got the start in place of Will Levis. He was 22-38, 266 yards and a touchdown pass. Jahmyr Gibbs was the man of the hour for the Detroit running game. 11 carries, 127 yards and a touchdown. David Montgomery chipped in with the touchdown as well. Calvin Ridley for the Tennessee Titans, 10 catches for 143 yards. Also, too, Khalif Raymond had a special teams touchdown for the Lions, a 90-yard punt return. So people want to say, well, the Detroit Lions, they're fugazi. They're not a real team. Well, they've been a couple of good teams this year. The Dallas Cowboys a couple of weeks ago, and they took care of business against a lesser opponent at home yesterday, unlike the Bears. The Lions are a complete team. One of the reasons why they are 6-1, you saw it yesterday. All 3 phases of the game were solid: defense, offense, and special teams. No, they do not have Aiden Hutchinson, but they're figuring out how to get by, and right now they're getting by offensively. They scored 30 points last week at Minnesota to defeat the Vikings. And they scored 52 points yesterday at home to defeat the Tennessee Titans. So the Detroit Lions looks like they're going to be one of those teams to watch in the NFC as the season goes along. As I mentioned with the Packers victory, both these teams, the Lions and the Packers, will face each other next Sunday afternoon in Green Bay. Back to the state of Ohio we go, where the Cleveland Browns pulled out one of the major upsets yesterday, defeating the Baltimore Ravens 29-24. Jameis Winston now being named the new star for the Cleveland Browns. He is in place of the injured Deshaun Watson, who's gone for the year with a torn ACL. Winston was 27-41 for 334 yards and 3 TD passes. On the flip side for Baltimore, Derrick Henry, 11 carries, 73 yards in the score. Zay Flowers for the Ravens, 7 catches for 115 yards. Lamar Jackson did not have his best game yesterday. He had an okay game. Struggled to start the game for Baltimore Ravens in that offense, but he did kind of pick it up in that second half. But it was the defense for the Cleveland Browns that set the tone in that first half. They did enough in that second half. They kept the Ravens out of the end zone for their last 2 drives, and the Browns came up with the 5-point victory. Now the Browns are 2-6 on the year, 1-3 at home. Baltimore drops their record to 5-3, 3-2 away from their home in Baltimore. So Baltimore have a slight setback. Hopefully they'll bounce back next week. Let's go down to South Beach, Florida, as the Miami Dolphins had their star quarterback return to Tagovailoa. He didn't look bad, but it was the Arizona Cardinals said, no way, wait a minute. We got something to say about this too. The Cardinals come away with the 28-27 victory with Chad Ridley walk-off field goal on the last play of regulation. Kyler Murray for the Arizona Cardinals, 26 of 36, 307 yards and 2 touchdowns. Devin A-Chain of the running back for the Miami Dolphins, 10 carries for 97 yards. Raheem Mostert, who got the start, had an early rushing touchdown in that first quarter. Trey McBride, the stud tight end for the Cardinals, 9 catches for 124 yards. Kyler Murray did look good, especially on those last 2 drives that helped put Arizona in position to win that game. For the Dolphins, their defense was null and void down the stretch, and the Cardinals took advantage of that. As Lakina mentioned in our last segment, the Arizona Cardinals have won 2 games in a row now on last-second field goals. They beat the Los Angeles Chargers last Monday night at home, and it had an early noon game on the road, being the Miami Dolphins yesterday. So they play the Bears next week. It's not going to be easy, but the Arizona Cardinals playing the Bears next week in your backyard, the way that you won your last 2 games, that gives you that much confidence. Now the Arizona Cardinals are 4-4 on the year. As I mentioned, they'll host the Bears next week. Wrapping up on noon games, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fall to the Atlanta Falcons at home, 31-26. Baker Mayfield for the Buccaneers, 37-50, 330 yards, 3 touchdown passes, a couple of interceptions. On the flip side for the Atlanta Falcons, 13 carries, 63 yards rushing for Bijan Robinson, the second-year running back out of Texas. Darnell Mooney, named familiar Bears fans. He's with the Atlanta Falcons now. 5 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Kirk Cousins was the man of the hour for that Falcons offense, throwing for 4 touchdown passes on the day. The Atlanta Falcons came out hot in that first half, scoring 24 points in that first half. It was their defense that took over in the second half, keeping Tampa Bay out the end zone, holding them to 9 points in that second half to preserve the 31-26 victory. If you paid attention to that last play of that game, something that the Bears did not do yesterday, knock the ball down. The Atlanta Falcons backfield, they knocked the ball secondary, they knocked the ball down to preserve the win, and Tampa Bay now goes home empty-handed. As I mentioned there, Tampa Bay is now 4-4 in the year. The Falcons are 5-3 in total control in the NFC South Division. In the last of the noon games, the Houston Texans hold off their division rivals, the Indianapolis Colts, 23-20. C.J. Stroud for the Texans, 25-37, 285 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor for the Indianapolis Colts, their star running back, 20 carries, 105 yards and a touchdown. Also, to their star wide receiver on top of the Indianapolis Colts, Mr. Josh Downs, 4 catches, 109 yards in the touchdown. Joe Mixon, in his return to the lineup for the Houston Texans, their running back they got via trade in this offseason from Cincinnati. He had a rushing touchdown as well. As we talked about on our show on Friday doing our NFL picks, when Joe Mixon is featured in that Houston Texans offense, it makes that Texas offense go. I know Nico Collins has been missing in action there, star wide receiver. I know Stephon Diggs got dinged up too yesterday, so the Texans had a hard-earned victory against their division opponent, but it may have come at a cost. So we'll see how the Houston Texans can handle their adversity and their injuries going forward. Now to the late games. Let's start out on the left coast in Los Angeles as the Los Angeles Chargers get a 26-8 dominating victory over the injury-riddled New Orleans Saints. Justin Herbert for the Chargers, 20-32, 279 yards and 2 touchdown passes. Alvin Kamara for New Orleans, 10 carries, 67 yards rushing. And for the Chargers, Mr. Ladd McConkey, their young wide receiver, 6 catches, 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just simple here, folks. The Chargers were great in all 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. They got after Spencer Rattler. The Saints had a quarterback change. It didn't help much at all. The Chargers put it on the Saints from the first snap of the game until the last snap of the game. After the Chargers had that bad taste in their mouth on the road last Monday night at Arizona, they come back home to get a big win against a less than inferior or injury-riddled team in the Saints. So the Chargers improved their record to 4-3 on the year. To Seattle we go next, where the Buffalo Bills dominated the Seattle Seahawks 31-10. MVP candidate Josh Allen for Buffalo, 24-34, 283 yards and 2 touchdown passes. James Cook, the running back cooking for the Buffalo Bills, had 17 carries, 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the Bills, Khalil Shakir, 9 catches, 107 yards and a touchdown. Also, too, rookie wide receiver Keon Coleman had a touchdown reception early in that game. The Bills defense got after the Seahawks. One of the Seahawks defensive players had a roughing the penalty call on roughing Josh Allen. There was a whole bunch of ruckus or brouhaha on the sidelines. It was broadcasted everywhere. Seattle just had a big meltdown yesterday. The Buffalo Bills are proven to be one of the best teams in the AFC to watch out for. Lakina rejoins me now. The Buffalo Bills made a big statement on the road on the left coast yesterday.
Yeah, I was surprised by this result because I thought it was going to be a close game between these two. But to the Bills' credit, they jumped on them early, and look, you could tell the Seattle got very frustrated. Like you said, there was like a lot of a little pushing and shoving going on, a little couple of brouhahas. Some of the defensive guys from the Seahawks, but to their credit, though, I mean, they didn't waver. And look, at the rate that AFC East is going, the Bills might wrap that division by Thanksgiving, because that's just at the rate the rest of the division is going. Because everyone else is like 2-6. Yeah, they're the only ones that are like 6-2. So yeah, at the rate they're going, that's probably what's gonna happen there. I was listening in the background as you were doing it. Chargers dominated the New Orleans Saints 26-8. It was like 8-5 or something. Like it was like 5-3 or something like that. I think there was a safety. It was like a very weird score. I'll say that at the beginning, but the Chargers did take over after that. In the second quarter on, Justin Herbert, 2 TDs, 279 passing yards. J.K. Dobbins, 57 yards and a TD. The defense for the Chargers, they were kind of, they were right there, 5 sacks between all 3 starters for the Saints. So you remember that when the Saints were beating people like 40, like scoring 47 points, they were beating people up, and seemed like a long time ago, doesn't? Now they fall to 2-6 while the Chargers go to 4-3.
Yeah, as I mentioned before you came back, the injury-riddled Saints just got destroyed yesterday, and that's what happens when you have injuries to your key players, and that's why the record they have what they have because of those elements.
Going to the Mile High City, Denver, no trouble with Carolina, 28-14, and it's interesting because I guess after. I'm sure they're 5-3. I don't think anybody. I don't know if our girl Christine Manica's husband Chris, who was a big Broncos fan, I don't think even he had that early in the season. But Bo Nix threw for 24 yards and 3 TDs. Even Cortland Sutton even threw for 28 yards. But I digress. Sutton actually had a nice day too. He had 100 receiving yards as well. On the flip side, though, Bryce Young, 2 TDs and 2 interceptions, 224 yards. But yeah, the Broncos took care of business over at Mile High.
Yeah, the Broncos scored 21 of their 28 points in that second quarter to pull that game away. The Panthers trying to start some mess, but the Denver Broncos wanted no part of it. And you mentioned Sean Payton. Could we say this, Lakina, realistically, that he could be your leading candidate for NFL head coach of the year, at least through the halfway point in the season?
I think he's one of the leaders. You could probably say maybe Dan Quinn too of Washington. That might be another guy. You could probably say. So yeah, I think Shade Psycho, from Arizona, you kind of say he probably might be in there as well. So there are a lot of guys, especially this early this season. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it goes on in the next few weeks in the next month. The Chiefs beat the Raiders. They held them off 27-20. Pat Mahomes, 2 TDs, 262 yards. On the flip side, Gardner Minshew, 209 yards and 2 TDs. This game kind of got lost in the shuffle because of the Bears and Commanders game. But, I mean, the Raiders, they kept it close, but yeah, just too much Kansas City.
Yeah, I watched the entirety of this game live via this computer screen, and the Chiefs did enough just to get by the Las Vegas Raiders. As you mentioned, give the Raiders credit. They did hang around, but the Chiefs are like one of those veteran teams when it gets down to crunch time. They have players that have been there before. They know how to execute. They know what to do in adverse situations. Pat Mahomes, you could say in loosely in air quotes here, 262 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt in the second going around with the team, 21 carries, 59 yards and a touchdown. Travis Kelce clearly with his best game of the season, aka Mr. Taylor Swift. 10 catches, 90 yards, and an early touchdown.
DeAndre Hopkins had 28 receiving yards in his first game with them, so we'll see how that goes and how that fits. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. The Sunday Nighter, 30-24, the 49ers held off the Cowboys. Brock Purdy, 260 yards and a TD. Isaac Guerrero, 85 rushing yards and a TD. They're kind of in the relief for all the other, other folks, that have been hurt. I think Devo went out after I think with some bruised ribs, but also
Mhm.
George Kittle on happy tight ends day yesterday in the NFL, 125 yards and a TD. On the flip side for the Cowboys, 240 yards for Dak, 2 TDs, but also 2 interceptions. So the defense for the 49ers kind of kept the Cowboys at bay.
Yeah, Brock Purdy bounced back with a big performance. I know he didn't have these stats that most people expect from him, but he still had 260 yards passing and the touchdown. You mentioned the Cowboys with that late comeback, but Lakina, the Cowboys may be in a free fall and the free fall fast. Of course, they have a bunch of injuries, especially on their defensive line featuring Micah Parsons. Offensively, they cannot find anybody with any consistency to run the ball. Shout out to Ezekiel Elliott who still has a job, but he's not your feature running back anymore. And I think that's the two major issues that the Cowboys are going to have to figure out in a hurry. Nice job in trying to come back at the end there in that fourth quarter, but it was just too little too late.
Yep. So, but yeah, kind of a little bit of a throw, nothing, if nothing else over there, as usual between these two teams, facing each other. So, but it was a nice little get right game for the 49ers. And look, the NFC West is still there for the taking. I know the Rams. We know the Rams won. They upset Minnesota on Thursday. But Seattle, they had a bad loss yesterday. 49ers are at 4-4, so maybe they can kind of get back going and get back into that division side. So we'll see what happens with the 49ers there. Stud Dud, Sid, you go first.
Jalen Hurts from Philadelphia, 236 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing as the Eagles blow out the Bengals 37-17. My second stud, Kyler Murray from Arizona, 307 yards passing and 2 touchdowns as the Cardinals upset the Dolphins 28-27 on the road. And my third stud will have to be Jaden Daniels for the Washington Commanders, 326 yards passing, and the only touchdown in the game was to Noah Brown as the Commanders hold off the Bears 18-15 in our nation's capital.
My first that goes to Isaac Orindo from Louisville. He's a 4th-round draft pick. Came in relief of course, some of the guys that we mentioned, Debo and such. Those guys are hurt. Madison, has been hurt the last couple of weeks. He came to relief, 85 receiving yards and a TD in his first start. I'm sure he's probably going to get called out a lot in these next few weeks. Also, of course, Ricky Pearsall, he got his first, I think it's his second start, but coming back after, being shot after just little inches of dying. That's a whole other story of itself. But that right before the season started, but a really good showing by Garindo. I'll say Cleveland, even though I knows I don't want to, but Cleveland look with a nice showing. They were kind of inspired because if you know the name Jim Donovan, he worked at NBC for a little bit. I know Chris Collinsworth, that was his first partner when he first started doing broadcasting. And of course, he passed away after a long battle with cancer. And Jameis Winston, of course, we know how biblical he is. He had a little Bible scripture right before the game, and of course, the upset in Baltimore. So I'll give them props for that, and kind of like they did it for Jimmy. So I'll give a little bit of props there. Oh, but another good Nance, another that great call with the Hail Mary. Look, he got about hundreds of those type of calls to various sports, football, basketball, golf, what have you. This is just another one in that his arsenal. So but if you guys check out the Commanders radio broadcast of that with Brad Weinstein, who is a DC native, who of course you guys remember working at ESPN and Sports Center for a little bit, and London Fletcher, who played for the Commanders and in Philadelphia. There was papers flying. There was a lot of cheering in the background. You heard the producer, the director cheering in the background. It was if you guys get a chance, go get it on YouTube, and because it also other sports social media. It was hilarious. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, great moment for the Washington Commanders. Now, my 3 duds, Tyreek Stevenson from the Bears, that goes without saying. My second dud is the New York Jets offense. Now you're 2-6. You can forget about the playoffs this year. And my third dud will have to go to the Seahawks defensive line for an unnecessary hit on Josh Allen, and then yelling and screaming on the sidelines. And where's the leadership? Where was more of the accountability? I'm sure they happened behind closed doors, but on the field when that happened, it just looked very ugly, very stupid.
It did. It really did. My 3 duds are as follows. Oh boy. The Bears. That goes without saying. What's my other dud? Tampa Bay. Like I know Chris Godwin's out for the rest of the year. I get it, but there was a little bit, that defense, though they were a little bit shorthanded there as well. But yeah, I mean, what the hell happened, with Atlanta? You thought that maybe they could probably, take control of that NFC South. Looks like Atlanta might have control of that division. So I don't know what happened with the Bucks yesterday. And Baltimore. I know Cleveland's playing inspired, but even still, make a play for defense. Make a play for God's sakes. Zachary Orr, who I'm calling out the defensive coordinator. Really? Yeah, you keep on. You're going to be looking for your pink slip and a late card, as our late friend Lamont Scott would say. So get it together because you should have won that. Whether or not the circumstances with the Browns, but you should have won that game yesterday handily. So I don't know what happened. That defense cleaned itself up because that's going to be one of the things that's going to keep Baltimore from going far in the playoffs should they make it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And of course, the last game of the week for the NFL, Monday Night Football tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN, ABC, I believe, and of course ESPN2 with the Manning cast is the Pittsburgh Steelers 5-2 against the 2-5 New York Football Giants. As I said last Friday during our picks on the show, I expect Pittsburgh to win this game tonight. Yes, Russell Wilson will get the start for Pittsburgh, but the Giants defense is very good. It's very underrated. Don't be surprised if it's a Lakina McGee special, like a 13-10, 16-13, 20-17 ball game.
Yeah, I think if you're the Giants, you better hope the defense keeps you in it because that's really the only way you're going to be able to win this game. So look, maybe they'll pull off the upset. I mean, look, I know Russell Wilson actually looked good last week. So we'll see if they can kind of keep it going. We know that Fields is going to be out because he's dealing with that hamstring. So it's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully Wilson doesn't struggle. And if for the defense, look, a couple of those guys on defense, Dexter Lawrence, I mean, they could be out in a couple of weeks, by next week. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that. And I believe, Bill Cowher and also LL Cool J will be part of that Manning cast tonight. That's interesting. That's gonna be interesting. Nonetheless.
Yeah, that will be interesting. Hour number 1 in the rearview mirror. Hour number 2 just around the corner as you're listening to Second City Sports, the Monday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. The World Series gets very interesting with the Dodgers taking commanding 2-0 series lead with a couple of iconic moments. We'll give you the details. And the Chicago Bulls, they are who they thought they were. And some folks are still upset. We had to dissect this nonsense. We'll get into college football as Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes are bowl eligible, while Illinois got a sweet taste of humble pie against Oregon. That and a whole lot more. As you stick and say, you're listening to Second City Sports, live and live in color of sports. So, Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am City Brown. You know that's me. You can follow your Shirley on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, Keenan McGee, IG.
As we kick off hour number 2 by discussing the Chicago Bulls and the rest of the NBA through its first full week of the regular season, and we'll get into some World Series talk as well. If you want to join us in on that discussion, and you better, you can do so by hitting us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
A mixed bag for the Bulls as they got their first win this season by beating the Bucks, but they come back and lose on a back-to-back to the Thunder, the number 1 seed in the West last season, and people were actually upset about this. I mean, I don't know what people were expecting. I mean, look, it looks like the Bucks are still trying to figure things out. Mm-hmm. And let's remember, folks, I know that everyone made a big deal, with this is Alex Caruso's first game back as a member of the Thunder. Got Josh Gay face his former team, this and that. I mean, it kind of went like back and forth as you expected. So the fact that they actually ended up going 1-1, not 0-2, is actually pretty remarkable if you think about it. But I don't know what people were expecting the Bulls to go 2-0, especially since you're coming off a back-to-back, and they probably didn't get back to Chicago till late. So look. The reason why the Thunder was the number 1 seed in the West last year. I don't know what folks were expecting. I don't get it.
I guess the frustration of some Bulls fans that this Bulls team should have put out a better effort. I get that, but sometimes the team that you're playing across from you is just much better than you, and that's what we saw last Saturday night. Now, Lakina, the reason why the Bulls won the game at Milwaukee last Friday night, 3-point shooting. The percentages was better, around 48% around in there, but they come back home, their 3-point shooting percentage just barely over 28%. You're not going to win many games in the NBA shooting from 28% from 3. And also, too, role players like Patrick Williams, Zach LaVine did his thing last Saturday, but Patrick Williams, 3 points, 8 rebounds, that's not going to get it done. Nikolai Vucevic, 18 points. You need him to score between 22 and 24 points a game. Zach LaVine was the only one that really showed up on the box sheet. He scored 22 points. Kobe White, who was hot last Friday in Milwaukee, he took another dip back. He only had 9 points, including 0 for 9 shooting from downtown.
Yeah, it's definitely the three. We all said 3-point shooting was going to be kind of the thing that would kill the Bulls, and that's what happened on Saturday. And plus, they were just the Thunder was just shooting lights out. So I think there was really nothing that they could have done differently in that game on Saturday. So I guess whatever it is, I guess if we'll see if the Bulls can kind of bounce back, because like I said, I think this is going to be sort of the thing for the Bulls. I mean, it's going to be. They may show off at one part, but then you're kind of like, okay, but then the Bulls get like knocked right by Seattle with a little step up in class and that matchup with the Thunder. So again, that's kind of what we saw on Saturday.
Here's the thing, Lakina, watching the Oklahoma City Thunder, we talked about this last Friday on the show. Even though it's very early in the start of the season, the Oklahoma City Thunder are proving to people by making their point. I know they won their whole opener last night against Atlanta. The Thunder are now 3-0. They're 3-0 for a reason. They're being two. I know they're being two half-ass teams. Okay, but they're proving a point that last year was not a fluke. You saw what they did against Denver last Thursday night at Denver on national television. Yeah, they took care of the Bulls. So like you said, they got in late from Milwaukee the night before, and they take care of a mediocre at best Atlanta Hawks team in their home opening last night. The Thunder are a team that people that should watch out for. A couple of observations that I saw from that game last Saturday, Lakina. Even though Shea Gilgeous-Alexander scored 23 points, yes, I think he's a MVP candidate for this year again. He could have scored 40 points if he really wanted to, but it's about their teammates getting involved, like Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. I don't know if you had a chance to watch him yet this year, Lakina. It looks like he put on some muscle. I know he's still skinny. I don't expect him to become Shaq and weigh 300 pounds and athletic, but it looks like that young man has put on some muscle, and he's really added his offensive game to his repertoire. It's really good to see. Even though it's the early part of the season, I like what I'm seeing for him so far.
Yeah, I saw him a little bit in that game against the Nuggets on Thursday, and yeah, I think he definitely beefed up a little bit. So I think listen, this could be a team that they want to prove to people that last season when they became the number one seed in the West, that it wasn't a fluke. So kind of gotta give them props to that. So we'll see what happens during over the part with them and the rest of this weekend in NBA. Kind of what sort of like caught my attention. Phoenix, they did lose a tough one to the Lakers, but they did bounce back and they beat Dallas 114-102, 31 points, I should say, for a KD game high for him and a season high in a very young season. So Phoenix, okay, I guess we'll have to wait and see how Phoenix looks this year. I don't know what to expect from Phoenix, but we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, can they get their three superstars stay healthy? As I mentioned on our preview show this time last week, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker, all three of those guys barely played half the year, 42 games out of 81. That was a problem. If it's a problem again this year, they'll get the same result.
All right, Clippers with nice back-to-back wins over the weekend. They beat Denver 109-104, and they came back and they were able to also beat both on the road. The Warriors. We'll see how Steph that ankle injury. I know he keeps to get banged up a little bit with that ankle injury. They say it's not serious, but again, he's getting old. Steph is, and we'll see if that could be more of a pain tolerance thing with him. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, the Clippers, at least so far. I mean, I think, of course, with Kawhi not playing, Lord knows when he'll play. But a lot of the guys are stepping up. I mean, so it's going to be interesting to see what the Clippers do. I mean, Isaac Zubik had Vika Zubik had 23 points in that game yesterday, and a lot of those guys, Norman Powell had 37, which is definitely up there, a career high for him in that game against Denver. So it's going to have to be the other role guys that are going to have to step up for those.
Yeah, you're talking about Coffee and Terrence Mann. Of course, you have a veteran Nick Batum, I believe, who's still there. And you have Chris Dunn, who's there now, the one-time former Chicago Bulls. So it's going to have to be the role players that is going to help out James Harden. I did catch some of that game live last Saturday, the Denver game before the Bulls game. And I know we'll dig more into Denver in just a moment, but the Clippers made big shots down the stretch in that game, and it really exposed what we talked about last week about the Denver Nuggets. I think Denver will be fine, but they really have some issues, and the Clippers were able to take advantage of it. Last night, they were in that game against Golden State until Steph Curry injured his left ankle in that fourth quarter, and then they took over. Now, am I going to sit here and say that the Clippers are going to finish at the top 4, top 6? No, but with a couple breaks here and there after losing their home opener in their new Intuit Dome last Wednesday against Phoenix, they ripped off a couple in a row.
Should be interesting to see what happens with them. Lakers look pretty good. I mean, nice back-to-backs. I mean, I said they Phoenix on Friday, and on Saturday, the next night, they held off the Kings. LeBron, 32 points. We'll see if he can kind of, there was going to be some load management things with him as the season goes on. But yeah, the Lakers actually look pretty good.
Yeah, that game last Saturday against the Kings, I think this is a perfect formula. If the Lakers can stick to this in that fourth quarter last Saturday, Anthony Davis, 16 points. LeBron James, 14 points, all in the fourth quarter for both those guys. So if Anthony Davis, as we said last year, Lakina, it looks like he may take that throne from LeBron James this year. Anthony Davis, you're a top 5 MVP candidate when healthy. He was last year. Hopefully he can stay healthy. This is your team. The ball is given to you. You dominate inside the paint. You still do your thing on the other end defensively. But offensively, this is your team. You take over. LeBron James, even though he's going to be 42 years old, you need him to take over in spots. But if you expect LeBron James to turn back the clock to be the 21, 22-year-old LeBron James from way back when, if you're a Lakers fan, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they can do there. Cleveland, they're 3-0 so far in this young season, and it'll be interesting to see if they can keep it up.
Yeah, shout out to new head coach Kenny Atkinson. You saw the job that he did a few years ago with the Brooklyn Nets, getting up to a competitive standpoint before he got the axe when Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving crew decided to take over that organization, which it did not last in due time. But you still have Donovan Mitchell. You still have Jarrett Allen, and you still have Evan Mobley. All those guys that I mentioned, they were injured or had poor performances last year. It was a miracle that they got to the second round of the playoffs last year before getting booted by Boston. So if those guys that I mentioned can stay healthy and adjust to Kenny Atkinson's system, I think they'll be fine.
Definitely be up there in that top 6 if they can keep it going. Everybody can stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be those guys you mentioned. Minnesota, after losing the tough one, the opener to the Lakers, they whipped out a couple of games in a row, being the Kings. I know the Raptors are, but yeah, the Kings are pretty impressive win. I saw a little bit of that game, and I gotta say, so far so good. Julius Randle, look, he's been pretty good, especially him and adds 24 points apiece in that game against the Raptors. They look really good.
Yeah, as we said a couple of weeks ago, we'll say it here. Karl-Anthony Towns is a great talent, but in the money that he's making, which it matches for the most part. But it's for the overall fit for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think Julius Randle's a good fit. I know you may mention that during our preview show last week, but I'll echo that same sentiment here. If Julius Randle could stay healthy, unlike the last couple of years when he had that Knicks uniform on, I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are still going to be okay. You need that second guy to go with Anthony Edwards, who's another blooming rising star in our league. I think he's another MVP candidate for this year. It's just that you got to keep your core players healthy and your bench players that had breakout performances in the playoffs last year. Let's see if they can keep up that same momentum as they start this year.
Shout out to former Illini guard and a rookie at Terry Shannon. You did a big contributor in those two wins. So hopefully I think that's a perfect spot for him. I think he was definitely a steal at that late round of the draft. So we'll see if he can kind of keep that going there for the T-Wolves. Now going to the scheduling for this week in the NBA. Loaded schedule. Tonight you got Indiana and Orlando. Indiana, they've had a kind of a rough week so far. We'll see if they can get it going. Washington and Atlanta also at 6:30. Milwaukee and Boston. That's the first game of the first game of the NBA TV doubleheader. That should be interesting. Detroit and Miami. Cleveland, undefeated Cleveland against the Knicks. I'm surprised that game is on television, but I digress. And have Denver and Toronto.
Finishing out the schedule for tonight, your Chicago Bulls will travel to Memphis to take on the 2-1 Grizzlies. That's at 7 o'clock. The Battle of Texas, Houston will travel to San Antonio to face the Spurs. And wrapping up tonight's schedule, Utah is at Dallas. The Lakers are at Phoenix. That's the second game of the Monday Night NBA TV doubleheader. That's at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. And, of course, the Trailblazers will face the winless Sacramento Kings.
All right, tomorrow's matchup Tuesday, you got Denver and Brooklyn. The first game of the TNT doubleheader should be a good one. You got Dallas and Minnesota. We watch that. Sacramento and Utah. And to wrap up the tomorrow's schedule and the TNT second game of that doubleheader, you got the Pelicans and the Warriors. Hopefully Steph can play that game because that way I don't think people are going to watch it otherwise.
Exactly, I agree with you. In a loaded schedule for Wednesday, Toronto will face Charlotte. The Lakers will start their East Coast road trip. They'll go to Cleveland in LeBron James's homecoming. The Celtics will face the Pacers, rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Finals. That'll be the first game of that Wednesday night doubleheader on ESPN. That's at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Detroit will visit Philadelphia. Atlanta will visit Washington. The Knicks will face the Heat. Remember, that was a matchup many years ago. Ooh. Orlando will travel to Chicago to face the Bulls. I think the Bulls are in trouble for that one. The Brooklyn Nets will travel to Memphis. Yeah, the Brooklyn Nets will travel to Memphis to face the upstart Grizzlies. San Antonio will face the Thunder. That's the second game of that ESPN Wednesday night doubleheader. That's at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Wrapping up the Wednesday night schedule, New Orleans visits the Warriors. That's not a typo. And the Trailblazers will take on the Clippers.
Yeah, they're doing the weird like back-to-back thing again with some of these matchups. It's confusing, I know, but we're not repeating ourselves. This is actually really what's happening here. Thursday, you got Milwaukee and Memphis. That's the first game of the NBA TV doubleheader. Houston and Dallas, San Antonio and Utah, and the second game of the NBA TV doubleheader. That should be a good one. You got Phoenix and the Clippers. Can't wait to see that new stadium the new order the Clippers are in is just absolutely beautiful. So I get a chance to see that again.
It is, and it'll be the rematch of the opening night contest from a week ago. That's your schedule for the NBA for this upcoming week. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid Deslakina. If you want to hit us up, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina, it will get them up on the screen for you. As now we transition to talking a little baseball. The World Series, the LA Dodgers are up 2 games to 9 as they head to Gotham City to take on the New York Yankees in Game 3. They'll stay there for the next 3 days as Games 3, 4, and possibly 5 will take place at New Yankee Stadium in the Bronx.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman hit that walk-off grand slam, which is kind of crazy because that's the first one ever in World Series history. Kind of like around the same day, same similar situation, of course, so as the Kirk Gibson hit in the World Series when the Dodgers faced Oakland. That was kind of literally a parallel sort of, that kind of thing. That's a little bit that was a little bit creepy there, but yeah, it's just a great game there in Game 1 and Game 2. Of course, the Dodgers kind of jumped on the Yankees early. They were able to hold on and win in Game 2 on Saturday. So it's now they go to Yankee Stadium. I can't see this going to sweep. I mean, the Dodgers did what they need to do. They held serve at home. Now it's the Yankees' turn to try to get those. Just 2 of those 3 games and such. And but the key for me is Aaron Judge. He needs to get things going for the Yankees if they want to cut into this league because everyone else is doing their job. Stan's doing his job, So's doing his job, but Aaron Judge to get out of the slump. I think he's been he had like 12 strikeouts in the last like 50 at bats or something like that during the postseason so far. That's not going to cut it. Your team, his team needs him to help. Needs him to help, I should say.
And if you notice too, Aaron Judge is chasing balls outside the zone. You notice he, just like Giancarlo Stanton, they like the ball middle in so they can extend their swing. And Judge is really chasing after bad pitches right now. So like you say, he needs to change his approach at the plate. As I mentioned too, during this playoff run, Giancarlo Stanton has been the Yankees MVP offensively. He has 5 home runs so far in the playoffs. Did you check out that home run he mashed off of Jack Flaherty last Friday in Game 1? That ball is still going. And I don't know if you caught the shot that ball yet. I don't know if you caught the shot of John Flaherty's mother who was sitting behind home plate. She couldn't believe it. And I think they had Freddie Freeman's shot next, obviously before he hit that grand slam. He had his arms folded. He wanted to say, "Oh bleep!" That ball did carry far. So good on the Southern California native Giancarlo Stanton there in Game 1. But you mentioned Game 2, Lakina. Yoshinobu Yamamoto with 11 strikeouts and 6 in the 3rd inning. Of course, the Dodgers extended him as far as his innings and pitch count was concerned. That's the first time they've done that since they brought him back from injury late in the season. It was a masterful performance. But, Lakina, what did I say on this program last Friday? Who was my World Series MVP? Who was the difference maker for the Dodgers in Game 2?
Mr. Edmonds.
Oh, Teoscar Hernandez.
Yeah,
2 home runs.
Hernandez.
Yep, 2 runs batted in. A key home run early in Game 2. He was the man of the hour offensively for the Dodgers as the Dodgers win the game 4-2. Lakina, I think it's safe to say for me, I predict, pardon my Mike Murphy, I predict that the Yankees will win Game 3 tonight. And here's why. You saw what they did in the latter half of the ninth inning last Saturday in Game 2. They had the bases loaded, couldn't quite get the job done, but they had the Dodgers bullpen on the ropes, but they just couldn't quite finish it off. They should have won a Game 1, but Freddie Freeman had other thoughts in mind. I think the Yankees will carry that momentum, which they left runners on base last Friday in the ninth inning. I think they'll come out tonight and send a message to the Dodgers.
Yeah, it'll be Walker Buehler versus Clark Schmidt in Game 3, and I kind of
Who's
feel
been very
like
good for them in these playoffs outside of Garrett Cole.
Yeah, he really has. So they definitely need a big start from him tonight to kind of tame guys like Hernandez and Edmund, and of course Betts and such. We'll see how Shohei Ohtani is, because remember, he's got that shoulder injury. He is going to try to play tonight, so we'll see if that becomes a factor there. But yeah, I think if jump on Walker Buehler early if you're that Yankees lineup, and try to kind of send a message early to kind of make the game early on, to kind of look sort of like set the tone there, and hopefully they can kind of get it going there, and perhaps maybe cut into that 2-0 lead, I should say.
Yeah. And also, too, for the Yankees, watch out for the bullpens. We talked about, as we previewed the World Series on our show last Friday with our guest, Miss Danny Waxelman, our baseball gal. We talked about the Dodgers bullpen being overworked and actually carrying the Dodgers' whole pitching staff. Let's flip it over to the Yankees bullpen. As I mentioned throughout the year, Clayton Holmes was their original closer. He's relegated to long relief now, and Luke Weaver, who was inserted into that closest role, I should say, late in the season. He's really has done the job for the Yankees. The Yankees have the lead going into the ninth inning tonight. I don't think as much the Dodgers can do against them tonight, should that scenario occur.
Yeah, I think that's really going to be the thing, like, who can set the tone early on with the bullpen. So, I think the travel days, helping, but with them having to play 3 straight games, Monday to, today, tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday, could that be, especially if you have to, if Dave Roberts is forced to use his bullpen early, that could be something that could help the Yankees a little bit. So if you want to try to get the Walker Buehler early and perhaps maybe, score off him, hopefully Aaron Judge can get out of the slump that he's in, and perhaps maybe start the trend there. Maybe hopefully can kind of cut into the series. Yeah,
you mentioned that the Yankees can get to Walker Buehler early. That's going to absolutely have an advantage with the Yankees, not just with Giancarlo Stanton's bat is being hot. Watch out for Juan Soto, too. I think it's time for him to bust out in this series as well. Tomorrow's starters for Game 4, Luis Gil for the Yankees as of now, and then undecided for the Dodgers, i.e. a bullpen game. So like you said, if the Yankees too can jump on Walker Buehler tonight, that bullpen for the Dodgers is going to be on overload for tonight and tomorrow as well.
And if there is we're not going to say it necessarily. I think there will be a Game 5, so we're interested to see. Yeah, that could be the thing here. Like if it gets it's going to get to a Game 5. But if it and when it does, it is going to definitely be a bullpen thing. That's going to be very pivotal. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think tonight might set the tone of what might happen the rest of the series, I think.
Yeah, and assuming that the Yankees win tonight, I think whoever wins tomorrow, if you're the Dodgers for Game 5, will you send out Yamamoto or will you send out Jack Flaherty, who started Game 1? Because I think if the Dodgers, assuming that the Yankees win tonight and the Dodgers win tomorrow, I think you send out Jack Flaherty. But if this series is tied 2-2, Dave Roberts will probably send out Yamamoto. That's just my guess.
Going to happen. Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen there. Again, assuming they win Game 3 and what happens tomorrow night in Game 4. Yeah, it's really going to kind of depend on that. So, yeah, it should be interesting to see what happens tonight. I think that tonight, like I said, it's going to set the tone for what happens to the rest of the series, I think.
Right. Game 3 of the 2024 World Series between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees will take place tonight in the Bronx. The coverage starts at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time with a pregame show, followed by the actual game itself at 7 o'clock. You can watch that game on Fox TV. Free TV, folks. Free television. And speaking of Fox, speaking of Fox, real quick, they are enjoying their 2 highest rated World Series games since 2017, where the cheating Astros, or as Sean Sierra calling the Houston Trastros, beat the Los Angeles Dodgers 7 years ago. The first 2 games of this series are the highest rated since the 2017 World Series between Houston and the Dodgers.
But I was so no one was going to care about the World Series outside of Los Angeles and New York. I guess I was wrong. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think about what, like 16 million for Friday, and I think what about like a little over 17 million for Saturday's game. Yeah, that all right. Not watching the World Series. Okay, kids.
Right.
Anyway, let's go back to the gridiron. So, although college style, as of course, Colorado will be going bowling. Illinois get a little smackdown for Oregon and a couple of other upsets too, and a whole lot more. Lakina McGee, City Battle, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More fun coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on a Monday edition. We're live in the 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom again on the Twitter, X, and Kids again, the IG.
This is our last segment of the show for today. So if you have any last minute questions or comments or any of the topics that we're talking about as we dive into week 8 review of the week 8 in college football, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Off to week 8, as Sid said. Nice win by Boise State. They could probably might be in the driver's seat. We'll see. Beating UNLV in that matchup where the Raiders play. That was a good game. I think there were some calls that kind of. I won't get into a tangent about that, but and a night for Boise State nonetheless. But USC looked really good. First they looked good in the last couple of weeks. They took care of Rutgers 42-20 on Friday. Going to Saturday's games, Oregon kind of sent a message to Notre Dame. It's Illinois, I should say. I wish they would. We'll see if that happens later in the season. But yeah, Oregon, but just pounded Illinois 38-9. And I thought this game was gonna be on until later, and then when I saw okay, let me see. It was like 35 to 3 or something like that. I thought, okay, good thing I didn't watch it. Dylan Gabriel, 291 yards, 3 TDs. Running back, Jordan James for the Ducks, 83 rushing yards. Noah Winningham, 56 rushing yards and a TD. On the flip side for Illinois, 161 yards for Luke Altmaier. Aiden Langery, 69 rushing yards. Oregon was just they just outclassed Illinois, and it was just one of those things where it's just like, yeah, Illinois, yeah, that was nice when they got against Michigan, but Oregon's a much better squad, and they definitely got a reality check.
Yeah, like we mentioned, Illinois, I thought they were staying it closer than I thought, but the second quarter happened with Oregon scoring 21 unanswered, and that was good night Gracie for you. But as you mentioned, it was a step up in class. Illinois, they're still a very good team, but Oregon is just in another class. They're in a national championship mode. Illinois, they're a very good team. They're trying to get into that class. They're still far away from that. But Illinois, I think technically they're bowl eligible, but I know they're not done yet. I think Illinois could end up with 8 or 9 wins. I'm not going to say easily, but I still believe they're a 9-win team. 10 will be stretching it, but I think Illinois will still have at least 2 or 3 more victories in them.
Yeah, I think they'll get the two more wins. They get a better bowl game. So we'll see what happens within Penn State. A little bit rough, but they held on to beat Wisconsin 28-13. Ohio State, Nebraska. Once again, Nebraska had a shot to win the game, but
they're in trouble. Talk about Ohio State. They're in trouble.
Oh yeah, I think they should have beaten Nebraska pretty easily, but that didn't happen. So yeah, that was a definite humdinger there for the Buckeyes. Texas got all they can handle for Vanderbilt. They literally had to hang on 27-24, but they did held on, so good for them. Miami, no trouble with Florida State, so yeah, that was a interesting matchup there. But yeah, they still undefeated nonetheless. Texas A&M pulled away from LSU. BYU held not too much trouble with UCF, but 37-24. It was not as close as that score looked. But Notre Dame, I guess Navy said they kind of stepped up in class, but yeah, Notre Dame kind of smacked them around.
Yeah, Notre Dame first 6 turnovers in the game. Also, too, their quarterback, I'm talking about Mr. Leonard, had was 13 of 21. 178 yards and 2 touchdown passes. And we talked about, I gave it out as a hint that this could be an upset alert, but like you said, Lakita, Notre Dame's defense just came out to believe the Irish were dominant from the opening snap, scoring 14 unanswered points in that first quarter, and they just rolled on from there.
Yeah, definitely. For Dame, Indiana, a little rough, hard time with Washington, but yeah, they held them off 31-17. First time they've been. That's the second time in history they've started 8-0. So yeah, nice showing by Kurtson Gimme and the Hoosiers there. Let's see here. Alabama, 34. Nothing over Mizzou. I mean, Mizzou, they've been banged up, so you kind of thought that maybe this would be ugly, and it did. Kansas State beat KU. So this is like the 4th time this year that Kansas has had a fourth quarter lead, and then they squandered it. And I'm sure the people there are probably wondering, when does basketball season start? Next week, folks. Don't worry. Ole Miss took care of Oklahoma 26-14. SMU needed overtime, but they did beat Duke 28-27.
I want to go back to the Kansas State-Kansas game for a second, Lakina. I thought that Kansas was going to pull out the upset, but like you said, they melted down in that fourth quarter. Avery Johnson, no, not the former basketball player, the quarterback for the Wildcats, 19 of 34, 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. And also to their star running back, who I watched against Colorado a couple of weeks ago, DJ Giddens. He's that dude. He had 18 carries for 102 yards. Too bad he didn't have a touchdown, but he definitely left his imprints on that game.
Yeah. Look, I think that was that tandem that beat Colorado in that last drive. So yeah, nice job by K-State. They could definitely may have a say on who goes to the Big 12. The Big 12 title game. Some of the other local scores here, because a lot of these games. Northwestern, they got hammered by Iowa 40-14. So yeah, sorry for you Northwestern fans.
Shout out to our girl
there.
Carla Mills, who did the sidelines for that game.
Yes, she
Chicago's
did.
very
She
own
did. She did.
friend of the show. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she definitely did a great job on the sidelines. And also our buddy Chris Mosters also called that game for them as well. Minnesota 40-23 over Maryland. Minnesota looking good. They're not going to be the Big Ten title game. They can definitely make a case for going to one of the bigger bowl games.
Yeah, they have a tough road game next week down in Champaign as they'll face the Fighting Illini. Their star quarterback Max Brosman had a big day, 320 yards passing with 4 touchdowns. Also, too, their running back Darius Taylor had 15 carries for 81 yards in the touchdown. But the man of the hour, Daniel Jackson, 9 catches for 117 yards and 2 big touchdowns.
Yeah, Illinois is going to have to try to slow down Taylor on Saturday. We'll talk about that game coming up on Friday. That's one of the big games. But yeah, there's no implication of playoff, but it is more of a pride thing. So we'll definitely talk about that game coming up on Friday. Baylor beats Oklahoma State. TCU off Texas Tech. That was a crazy game for many reasons. James Madison, they beat Southern Miss in their first year in Conference USA. Yeah, this is all getting kind of confusing with all this conference realignment. It's making my head hurt, but I digress. Cal, no trouble with Oregon State. West Virginia held off Arizona. Michigan held off Michigan State for their annual in-state showdown. So a nice win for them. Auburn with a nice win against Kentucky. Colorado, they become bowl eligible, pulling away from Cincinnati. They're going back bowling for the first time, I think, 4 or 5 years. So nice showing by Coach Prime and the rest of that group there. Finishing up, Wazoo held off San Diego State, and Hawaii in a late matchup easily over Nevada by 21.
I want to go back to the Colorado game. I watched the majority of that before I fell asleep before the ending. Colorado, it looks like they started to run the ball a little bit. As I said before, during the season, they had trouble running the football. And the offensive line, it's been much better this year compared to last year. Protected Shedeur Sanders. I know Shedeur Sanders was nicked up there, but he was able to finish out the game. But Travis Hunter, who's a for sure first-round pick, coming up in the 2025 NFL draft. He had 9 catches for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns. Lakina, just like I said about Illinois a few moments ago, looking at Colorado's schedule, I know Utah's not that good this year, unlike the previous couple of seasons. I know that they have, I forgot who else they had to wrap up the year, but in the next 4 games.
They're off. Yeah, they're off this weekend, but they do play Texas Tech after that.
I think they can win that game. I think they can squeak out Utah. And I know they got two other games left, but it would be selfishly, it would be interesting for Colorado to go undefeated to finish at 10 wins. I don't think that's possible, but I think realistically they could end the season 8-4. 9-3 would be kind of stretching it, but realistically, I think they could finish 8-4 and get a better bowl game.
They finish up against Oklahoma State too that Saturday after Thanksgiving. We'll see where Oklahoma State is by that point. I know they've been struggling lately as well, and I'm really surprised there's gonna be some trash talk between Coach Brian and Coach Gundy. But again, that's we got about a month from now before we think about that. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. So we'll see what happens in that. We got, like I said, we got them up before that happens. So a lot can happen between now and November 29th. But so not a bad showing there. I mean, look, we're about we're about halfway through, more than halfway through the season now, and it's going to be interesting to see if Oregon, if they can kind of keep it up. But yeah, I mean, the first stage will be, I think, will be coming out there in a couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how this all kind of like, shakes out and stuff. I mean, Oregon, look, they've been, they've had a couple of little rough patches. Of course, Boise State gave them all they could handle. They've been kind of, stepping it up in class so far. They play Michigan on Saturday. That should be an interesting matchup. And kind of finishing up the season, looking at it, Maryland, Wisconsin at Camp Randall, maybe. Washington. So I think they definitely could hang on to that number one spot. It was such that Wisconsin game that could be a little bit of an upset alert there at Camp Randall. Texas, I know they struggled against Vanderbilt, so it's gonna be interesting to see how they shake out in these next few weeks. So it's gonna be a lot of mess. This next one's gonna be a lot of messages going to be sent. Judgment November, as I guess they say. So we'll see how kind of all of it sort of sets up here.
Before we move on to a little White Sox news, I want to get your take about the college Heisman Trophy. Of course, I have Cam Ward as my number one candidate from the University, the University of Miami. I know he didn't have a great game stat-wise, but he's been the MVP of that whole Miami Hurricanes team. Of course, you have Ashton Genty there, that running back for Boise State. I think he's the true number one candidate for that award, as Boise State now stands at 6-1 on the year 3-0 in the Mountain West. I'll throw in Dylan Gabriel's name in there too from Oregon. I think that's your top three guys for the Heisman this year. Are there any names that people should be paying attention to outside those three names that I mentioned that you consider that should be considered for the Heisman Trophy race?
I'm trying to think. I mean, the only thing about Genty is that he plays in the Mountain West, so that might kind of if anything, he'll get to New York, but I don't know if he'll end up winning because he's in a mid-major conference, if you will. I know the way the playoff is set up. I probably would say, I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. Let's see. I'm trying to think.
I'll throw a name out there real quick. Quinn Ayers, the quarterback from Texas.
He was hurt, so that the Heisman folks kind of get a little bit iffy when somebody was hurt. Maybe Curtis Rourke from Indiana. I mean, they're undefeated. I mean, I don't think Indiana's ever won the Heisman. He's one of these 5th and 6th year guys, and I think he's like right up there in passing and all yards, and also too he has like, oh gosh, he's got like I think with counting this game, he has like almost 2,000 passing yards and like 19 TDs. So he might be up there as well. But again, it's Indiana, so when people think of Indiana, they'll give him as a powerhouse. And so maybe the quarterback from Army, they were off this week, Bryson Daly, maybe, I don't know. Ryan Williams, I mean, he's too young, so that's not gonna work there. Maybe Jalen Monroe, maybe Jeremiah.
I was going to ask you about him.
From Ohio State, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I think there's a lot that could happen in these next few weeks. So we'll see the separation of some folks that are really contenders and really pretenders in the Heisman race as well.
Not only Jalen Smith and Lakino, how about Jalen Monroe from Alabama? I think he's in that bottom half because I know he's been kind of up and down lately. We knew that Alabama was going to be good this year, but not like under the old regime with Nick Saban. Do you think Jalen Monroe is at least in the top 10? I think he is, but he's like in that 7 to 10 range.
Yeah, that's probably where he's at, because remember they also have 2 losses too. Alabama does now, so yeah, that's going to be. Yeah, that might kind of, sometimes they don't really throw their nose at it, but sometimes they do. So it depends on, I guess, the player. Let's just see what else. I know some people will say his teammate Ryan Williams, but he's only 17. I think usually Heisman kind of stays away from giving it to teenagers. So he's only a freshman. He'll have a shot in the next couple of years. I wouldn't worry about him if he doesn't get in. Maybe Desmond Reed, the Pitt, because remember Pitt's still undefeated, but again, Pitt. I think that Tony Dorsett was the last guy from Pitt to even make it to the finals. Of course, he won in '76. So during they won a national championship that year as well. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be see what happens, but yeah, it's gonna get So like I said, these couple weeks is gonna really be very telling.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. Lakina here with you. Before we get to the White Sox, Lakina, real quick, we have breaking news. Courtesy of Lawrence Holmes of 670 in the Score. He tweeted this out about a little bit over 12 minutes ago. I'll just read it out loud verbatim. His tweet. Here's what he is saying. Here's what he tweeted out. courtesy of his Twitter X account. Here's what I'm hearing on a CHSN app. It should be available before Thanksgiving, hopefully sooner in parentheses. $19.99 per month per team, $29.99 per month for all three. Let me repeat that one more again, as the kids would say. $19.99 per month per team, $29.99 per month for all three, or $300 per year all in. Network still negotiating with Comcast, some movement there.
Doing a little cackling here, like $19.99 per team.
Per team, yes, per team.
Good Lord, I mean, for the love of everything, like my God, $20. Yeah, one team's mediocre, the other team stinks. The other team, we'll talk about the other team in a second because they might be one step closer to hiring a new manager. But like, what? Excuse me? No. And they did get an agreement with Fubo TV.
Fubo, yep. Last Friday before the Bucks game, yep.
Yeah, so really? Oh yeah, Fubo TV. They're invested in. They're a smaller group, but they're invested in RSNs. They got a lot of the RSNs on their YouTube TV, but I digress. But yeah, this app, like seriously, you're better off just trying to. Never mind. I'm not gonna lobby for people to break the law, but $19.99 per team. Yeah, $19.99 per team, $30 a month.
Yep.
Not even
$30 a month for all three. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, excuse me. Well, really, not even like Netflix is like half that much. If you have like about like more than like 4 or 5 people in your plan, like get the heck out of here with that.
We'll see what happens there. Lakina, on the $300 per year all in, that's how much White Sox season tickets are for one person in the upper deck. Let me tell you that right now.
I'm sure you can get bowl season tickets for that for about 2/3 of that. Same with the Blackhawks.
Exactly, in the upper deck. Yes, yes.
So like, what? Like, you're better off doing that than play like for an hour. Because I think not even the marquee. Because I don't think the marquee app's even that much. You only pay for one team.
I don't think so. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like $15 or something like that for a month, or $17, something like that. So yeah, okay. Jesus.
And here's the second part of that tweet. I'll read this verbatim from Lawrence Holmes. Situation is unique because no other market will have 3 teams bundled like this. Still waiting on NBA approval. People who have seen the beta test and tell me it's going to look and feel different in a good way. That's the T. TEA.
Oh Jesus! I look at the comments of some of the from Morris's tweet. Let's just say it's exactly what I thought they would be, but I digress.
Yeah, you can read between the lines what that means. So that's the latest on the CHSN/Comcast/app debacle. I'll put it that way on that issue. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. Lakina here with you. Speaking of another potential debacle, the White Sox looks like they're, as you said, a step closer in naming their new manager. Of course, they cannot do a press conference until after the World Series. The World Series could end on Wednesday, could end next weekend. But if they have a press conference, it won't be until after next week sometime. AJ Ellis, former MLB player, and Andy McCullough, the first base head coach of the Los Angeles Dodgers, both those candidates are out. It looks like Will Venable, who's the associate manager of the Texas Rangers under Bruce Bochy. I believe he played in the league too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he did.
And I know his name is not out there, but Grady Sizemore is still lurking around. Is another top candidate for this White Sox job. Thoughts?
Oh gosh. I know Venable. I know some people want Venable because of, like you said, the MLB experience. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if Sizemore gets the nod too. They just go ahead and just sign him to a contract. I know the players. I know some of the players have been lobbying for him. I saw some. I forgot whose Twitter it was, but one of the players' Twitter account said they've been lobbying for Sizemore to just give him the job. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think one of those guys you mentioned, they took their names out. So I think they probably realized that, yeah, I'm not going to waste my time here because it might be another 3 or 4 years. So we'll see. But yeah, I would be surprised if it's probably either between Venable and Sizemore, I think.
I agree with you on that as well. Now, if Grady Sizemore gets the job, will I be upset as a fan for a hot 2 seconds? Yes, but as a talking head over here, I would not be surprised. Also, too, Phil Nevins' name has been mentioned as a finalist. He was a former MLB player, and he managed the Angels through the middle of last season before he got the axe. So his name, he's one of the 3 finalists as well. I don't think he's going to get that job, but the White Sox, I wouldn't be surprised if they give Grady Sizemore and put Phil Nevins' name on it, signature on it, like they did with Tony Wilson. That was AJ Hinch's signature. Not smart.
No, that was. I remember that debacle from a few years ago. So yeah, it'd be interesting who's gonna have the final say. Will it be Chris Getz? Will it be Jerry?
Round
you never
3.
know with this situation. Well, you'll never know the situation. So we'll see how Getz looks at the presser. If he's happy, he got his guy. If not, if he kind of like does what Rickon did a few years ago and just like was very like, very, like Eeyore from the old Winnie the Pooh cartoons and such. Well, yeah, we'll be able to tell whether or not it was his say.
Yeah. And on the north side, Lakina, if you believe the rumor mill, you believe the reports that has been out on the internet over the last week or so, they're expected to sign somebody. It's not Juan Soto. Maybe it's Pete Alonso. Hearing the Corbin Burns, the former Milwaukee Brewers starting pitcher. He pitched for Baltimore this year. He's looking for $300 million. I don't think he's going to get that, but he's still going to get a nice fat PHAT paycheck. Will it come from the Chicago Cubs?
I mean, if they get either one of those guys, I'm leaving Soto out because I don't think they're going to get Soto. But if they get the Alonso or Burns, I think they may get like maybe 2/3, and then it makes me think that maybe Tom Ricketts is getting the message that maybe you got to spend some money if you want to be up there, competing. You can't hinge on that 2016 World Series for very long. We're going into 8 years, going at almost 9 years now. Next year. Yeah, so you're not going to be able to. Yeah, you're not going to be able to fall on that sword. People want to. Most fans want to win. They don't want to wait another 100 or so odd years for another World Series. So you better try to compete.
Hopefully the White Sox will get that message. I talked about it before. With their 125th anniversary celebration next year of the franchise coming up next year, along with the 20th anniversary of the 05 White Sox team. Some fans are like you said, just like the Cubs are annoyed by it. I get it. There's memories that we'll never forget, but it's time to win. You can't just celebrate the past and think that it's going to cover up what's going on in the field right now. And it's not going to work for very long. And like I said, good for Cub fans like you. Like, yeah, 2016 was very special, but it's time to win again. And of course, the Cubs have been more competitive over the last couple of years than the White Sox, but the Cubs fans, like I said, 2003 was the best and worst thing that's ever happened to this Cubs franchise. Expectations have changed. I think it has changed for the good because Cubs fans, rightly or wrongly, that they got a bad reputation. Oh, we just go out to games to drink and have a good time, look at girls, and don't give a damn what the score is. But now, expectations are very high, and rightfully so. You can't just lean on 2016 anymore. It's time to win. All those guys that couldn't count entries are gone now. So, you're going to win. You're going to have to win it with a new group.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing with the White Sox too. I mean, it's been 20 years, so a lot of those guys are not with the team anymore. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what the White Sox do when maybe Jerry will remember, or maybe Jerry will end up selling the team. Who knows? But should be interesting to see what happens there now. NFL news, real quick. Shane Steichen for the Colts head coach. Anthony Richardson will start this coming Sunday. We're evaluating everything, so it makes me think that Joe Flacco might get the start on Sunday. So we'll see what happens there. And of course, that Bears Cardinals game will be on CBS. And unfortunately, we're hoping to get our buddy Spiro Diaz on the call, but he won't be. He'll be in Cleveland. And we'll get Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn. So we actually get the number 2 or 3 group with a call of that game. I don't know how, but yeah. So we'll just see what happens in that matchup.
Yep, Caleb versus Kyler Murray. That should be exciting.
Battle of
But
the
last night's game was exciting. It wasn't until the fourth quarter.
Right, exactly. It might be the case here. So, and look, like I said, that Arizona game is not a gimme, folks. I know people want to say it is, but no, it's not.
We'll tell you why on Friday on our next show on Friday.
I do want to give a bonus, a bonus to Ryan Gendry from for the Cardinals the second week in a row. I think it's like the third time in like 5 weeks he has had a game-winning field goal. So yeah, I think he doesn't have to worry about buying anything right now over there down there in Arizona. So they've been they're right there. I'm not saying they're gonna make the playoffs, but this could if they beat the Bears, this could go a long way perhaps going into the tiebreakers.
Yeah, and they're right there in the thick of it in the NFC West race with Seattle choking the way they did yesterday. The 49ers hanging on to that win over the Cowboys, and the Rams trying to make a race of it with them winning their last two games. Arizona, they're right there, so I wouldn't overlook them just yet.
Well, and I'm sure a couple of those. I'm sure they would love to have a couple of those losses back. The Bills lost. Yeah, I think because they were right there. I think there was another game too that they were right there. They probably could have won that game, but again, like you said, they're still right there in the divisional race. So, look, who knows what happened on the next?
Yep. All right. Anything else before we close up shop for today?
No, I'm good. I know the Indiana Fever fired their head coach. Don't know why, but okay. I guess hopefully whoever got the decision up there, hopefully they know what they're doing. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, will they reach back for Caitlin Clark's college coach or some other?
She's out, yeah,
some other name that we don't know about. I'm just guessing here.
Yeah, because remember she retired as well. Well, she resigned. Well, I guess I don't know if she's retired, but she did resign from Iowa. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Who knows?
Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to check it out yet, Lakina, but I know that Cooper Flag looked good again last night. Another exhibition for Duke.
Yeah, I saw that
against Arizona State. I know he's a consensus number one pick in the upcoming 2025 NBA draft. And no Bulls fans, you're not going to get him.
No, that's not happening. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. And Illinois actually looked good in their exhibition matchup yesterday. So but yeah, I guess they're making these exhibition games actually mean something, I guess. So you still get to play like your Illinois Wesleyans, your St. Xavier's, but yeah, and all Nazarene, no shade to those schools, but but I make the point they want to I guess they're going to be like a charity, thing. So that's why they're doing this. I guess they're going to be doing it again next year to kind of make people actually want to watch these exhibition games. But yeah, I digress.
Yeah, it's something. And of course, college football has been getting away with this for so long, especially with those top teams like Alabama and Texas scheduling their early games against HBCUs, and that's been in murderer's row, no pun intended, for years. So,
yeah, but I guess so. Nice little
pay for play.
Schools, I'll say 6 figures, 7 figures in some cases. So I think they'll take the money. They'll take the money. So you're not gonna get complaints. So if they win, look, we saw it happen a couple of times earlier this season. Look, it happens. It happens.
Yep. Lakina, if you don't mind, can we do an audible and resume Old School TV Monday for next week?
Okay, no, that's fine.
Okay, good. We'll have Old School TV Monday back next week. This week we're just overloaded with stuff, and Old School TV Monday will resume for next week. So for those of you that were looking forward to it, we apologize. We'll resume Old School TV Monday for next week. We had a couple breaking news items here to close out the show. We want to get that information out to you guys.
Well, it happens sometimes. We have to look. Old School TV we'll still look, and we look. Especially with this busy being a time here, of course, we're going to be talking about college hoops in a couple of weeks, college football. We're going to get into the home stretch, and of course, you got NBA starting, baseball's finishing up. So yeah, it's fine. We'll look. We'll make up to you guys, but we promise.
All right, Lakina, take us home.
You follow my Kina McGee on the Twitter, execute on the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. But while you're at it, give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Of course, once we get the issues fixed and get Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. That's not the present Roku calling. That is not them, but of course, once we get the issues fixed, we get Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on our Roku TV.
And we will provide.
All right, folks, and like I said, enjoy the World Series. There's a couple of college football matches coming up in the next couple of days. Also, too, of course, exhibition for college hoops that's finishing up in a couple of days. That's finishing next week before they start for real on Monday. NBA and so much more. And of course, for Halloween, don't be too crazy this Thursday, folks. A little spectacular there, but
no tricking.
Yeah, more treats, no tricks, folks. Please be safe out there, folks. If you are going to trick or treat or going to a Halloween party on Thursday, Thursday or Friday. So for Sid, on the Kids of Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago, and we'll see you guys Friday.
Holla!